Do you think you've done anything wrong?
On the advice of counsel, I invoke my Fifth Amendment privilege against self-incrimination and respectfully decline to answer your question.
What do HIV/AIDS, a $2 million Wu Tang Album, $64 million in returned profits
Are you ashamed? No, I'm not.
have to do with each other?
Yes.
This is no other than Martin Shkreli, the Pharma bro.
I got a beautiful nose.
But we are going to look behind the pharmaceutical facade that this man has put on
You can try, man.
and see what led him down this path of making these crazy choices. Until you look at the money side of things, you can't really understand people's perspective and understanding why they're doing. When people run out of money and they owe a lot of money to other people, they get desperate.
2009. How much money do you think I have in my bank account? $100.
And they will almost do anything to be able to escape that position. So we're gonna look what caused Martin Shkreli to become the villain
Come at me, it don't matter.
that you know and love or hate as the Pharma bro. This is the Cash Flow Show. I am Dom, your host,
Hey, nobody cares. Nobody cares.
and we are going to get into the money side of things.
I wish you would.
This is a business, entrepreneurship, financial channel, all that.
You all that in a bag of chips.
This is specifically an episode about financial entertainment. We see about why people make decisions they make. So if that sounds good to you, then consider giving this video a like and subscribing for more future entertainment. Jumping right into it. So a little bit of background behind this guy. He was born in Coney Island, New York hospital. He comes from two immigrant parents who worked as janitors, and they had a small New York apartment where he even shared a bedroom with one of his siblings.
Yes, I'm telling you, I'm from the streets.
Usually when people are born into poverty, either they stay in poverty or that gives them some kind of drive to make something of himself. Martin Shkreli is the latter explanation of this. He attended a 4-year college, got a bachelor's degree, and then through a student placement program, he got into a internship on Wall Street. This is where he first got into hedge fund management, where he worked for a hedge fund by the name of Kramer and Berkowitz. It was during this time where he first seen some of his Wall Street success. You have to understand, when you invest in the stock market, the best strategy is to buy and hold long term. If you put any amount of money in the stock market and just held onto it for more than 10 years, you made money. This is because of economy of scale in the United States. They grow an economy, yada yada yada, boring. But they have these hedge fund managers and day traders that think they can outperform the market, where they buy certain stocks and then they sell them just at the peak or right before they start dropping. So you might be able to do this once or twice.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
This is a very risky form of trading. Even more riskier than that is a form of trading called shorting stocks. Or this is where I go into a rant about trying to explain short selling, a subject that I do not know about very clearly. You can see by the paint on my face here. But for this story about Martin Shkreli, all you need to know is he was betting on companies to go down in stock price, and if they went down in stock price, he made a significant amount of money, and if they failed to go down in stock price, then he lost a significant amount of money. So yeah, it gets kind of complicated, but this is exactly what Martin Shkreli did when he suggested to the hedge fund that he was working for that they should short a biotech company. So this is where he's seen his first success in his Wall Street bets and made his company over hundreds of millions of dollars.
Look what I found in my pocket. Look, a year's salary right here.
He made them so much money that they even got investigated for insider trading. You're young, you're fresh out of college, you're reading on some internet forums and you think you done found a secret. Then you manage to convince these people that have been doing this for probably 20 years, who are 15, 20, 30 years older than you, to short this certain company, and they actually listen to you. And when they actually listen to you, they make hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars. So naturally, through that success, anybody would be pumped up and think this is something that they can produce.
You're not that guy, pal. Trust me. You're not that guy.
What is the natural course of action? Of course, Martin Shkreli started his own company. So in 2006, remember, he graduated college in 2004. So he worked for his hedge fund for just 2 years. So in 2006, he started his own company name. It's called ELEA. I'm going to call it ELEA. That's all a hedge fund is a couple traders that have a few, maybe who knows how many, but they have wealthy investors that give them money, and that those investors tell them to outperform the market, and then through them making the trades, and they charge fees, like fresh out of college, 20-something trading other people's money.
I got a beautiful nose.
In this, he thought he could repeat that same success of short selling companies and getting massive returns. Except this time, it did not work out in his favor. So he short sold another biotech company, and then when that company's value did not plummet, then he was forced to buy back his shares at a higher price rather than lower price, and he lost money. This trade was placed through Lehman Brothers, and Lehman Brothers actually sued Elia for $2.3 million, and in 2007 they were awarded that lawsuit. Lehman Brothers actually folded in the 08 housing bubble, so even though they had a $2.3 million lawsuit ruled in their favor, they were never able to collect that because obviously they lost hundreds of million dollars to the whole bad loan mortgage scandal back in 2008 housing bubble, if you remember that kind of thing. So that was a lucky break. Then you can imagine, you're 20 something, everything you've done so far has worked out, and then yeah, you had a little blip up, but they were out of business, so you never had to cough up that money. So you can understand, you might kind of think you're impervious or invincible. Not the case. So if we continue on, he continued in the same kind of risky trading, grabbing other people's money, doing things. So in 2009, he formed another hedge fund, MSMB, which was his initials, Martin Shkreli, and then his best friend's initials, Merrick Bestique. So him and Merrick Bestique gathered another group of investors, and this is where the story kind of repeats itself. You guessed it, more risky options trading. So they placed an options trade for 32 million shares, shorting yet another biotech or pharmaceutical company. Yeah, they placed the trades through Merrill Lynch, and on this one they did a naked short, meaning they had to put up no collateral. So they took 32 million shares,
41, 42.
shorted those shares at $9.09. The very next day, those shares went from $9.09 to $2.50. So you can understand that $7 per share per profit would have gone to them. Only they got greedy and did not time the market right, because no one really can. And then that stock price increased. They were actually on the hook for over 32 million shares.
41, 42.
Merrill Lynch came after that money, of course, basically wiped out and obliterated MSMB. Then they also lost $7 million through that trading. Yeah, so you can kind of see a pattern forming here. He starts a hedge fund. He gets clients to get inside of this hedge fund. Then he takes their money. He invests it. He might make a little return. He loses it all. He closes that one. Then he starts another one, gets another group of investors, and then from those investors, he uses their money to pay back the previous investors, and then he moves on like this. Boy, if you don't, you can see robbing Peter to pay Paul over and over and over again, until this is where it gets interesting. This is when he first got into the pharmaceutical game.
Remember Martin Shkreli? He was dubbed the most hated man in America when his pharmaceutical company raised the price of a drug, a pretty rare drug, by about 5,000%.
Costing $13.50 a pill to $750 a pill, literally overnight. That's price gouging, pure and simple.
So you can understand that last scandal with Merrill Lynch, that was in 2009, and then that brings us to 2014. So at this point, he couldn't really get any money from public investors. So he went through a company called Roth Capital, where he acquired $10 million. So with this $10 million, instead of going Wall Street crazy and shorting some company and in the hopes of making money, this is where he entered the pharmaceutical game. So in this time, he actually acquired the rights to two drugs, so Thiopron and Chinodals. He got the rights to these two drugs and acquired the distribution. Thiopron, and marked it up from $1.50 to $30 a pill. And for this specific pill, they had to take up to 10 to 15. And then he took Chinodal and marked it up fivefold. Someone who has had limited success in stock trading wonders upon this pharmaceutical wonderland of gross profit.
Come with me.
Finds a strategy, and then it works out. And then in the United States, there is no regulation of businesses and private businesses. So what he did was perfectly legal. In fact, what he did is a common game plan. So what does he do? He starts touring pharmaceuticals with the exact game plan of buying niche drugs, acquiring the distribution, and then marking the drugs up 700 to 500%. This is where Daraprin a scandal comes into place.
That's price gouging.
Daraprim was a drug that fought a specific life-threatening disease, but this life-threatening disease was only life-threatening to those who had compromised immune system, cancer patients or people with HIV or things like that. This pill, Daraprim, was about $13.50 a pill. So with his newfound strategy and his newfound success that he took the drug Daraprim, which drug patent was expired, gained the rights to it, shut down all distribution, acquired the distribution, and then marked it up to $750 a pill. And this is, like I said, this is a common practice among the pharmaceutical companies. Then what was different about Martin Shkreli? The difference is that he was out there in the public taking interviews and being shameless about it. Why?
Come at me, it don't matter.
Why? Because America is a capitalistic country and there's no laws that regulate private business. So with this, what he did per se wasn't illegal. So in fact, other people were doing it. He was just completely shameless about it. So he became public enemy #1. But you have to ask yourself, are people this genuinely evil or this genuinely maniacal, that would rob somebody, the defenseless, the weak, and the sick? You have to look at his history. This man had started hedge fund after hedge fund, got in group investors, lost millions along the way, and used the new investors to pay off the previous investors. That in America is known as a Ponzi scheme. So imagine you are on the hook for 10, 15, 20, 30, 40, maybe even $50 million. How are you going to pay that back? So when people are hurting for money, especially large amounts of money like that, they do desperate things. So with this new business plan, he did some desperate stuff. With that, you would think he would just be cool and be low, but he was out there going wild on the TV.
I wish he would.
So what happened? He got indicted. So in 2017, he was arrested and he was indicted on 9 counts of securities fraud, which is basically the system I just explained to you. So he ended up being convicted for 2 securities fraud and 1 conspiracy to commit securities fraud. So at that time in 2017, when he was convicted for these, he had to give back $7.5 million in assets, including the $2 million Wu Tang Album, which brings us to the current case where now he is forced to pay back over $64 million in made profits from the pharmaceutical industry, and he is completely barred from ever entering that industry again. Basically, I do this video to pose this kind of question. Is he the evil villain or the crazy maniacal pharmaceutical bad guy that just wants to rip off cancer patients? Or is this a man that is driven to desperity or depravity? Or is desperity a word? Is desperity a word? Let's go ahead and look this up real quick. It's not a word. Disparity? So judge for yourself. Is this a man that is a pharmaceutical evil genius that just wants to rip off cancer patients and drive up the margins by 5,000, 7,000%? Or is this someone that is completely driven to disparity, trying to pay back millions and millions of dollars that he's lost because he was a hedge fund day trader that got his information from Reddit? I don't know. Personally, that is for something that you to judge. If you like this kind of financial entertainment and want to see more of it, check out this video here. And then if you want to see anything about finance, personal finance, entrepreneurship, business, because this is a channel made by a finance head for finance heads all out there, so consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching this video, and I hope to catch you guys on the next one.